Might need to refresh. Are we live? Okay, we're live. Perfect. All right. Might need to refresh. Are we live? All right. Welcome everybody. Today, Antoine will be streaming for you. I'll be doing voiceovers, answering questions in the chat, and narrating some of the work that he is doing, while also trying not to be a distraction while he works. Hopefully, hopefully my voice won't be too annoying for him. Um, let's get started.
Okay, hello everyone, and enjoy the show.
Yeah, yeah. So Antoine will be mostly quiet during this. He just wants to be able to concentrate on the work, and that always works.
Yeah, it's mostly because my English is very not confident, so I will try
Oh,
to
dude,
not speak that much.
you sound perfectly fine, man. But
Alright.
that's okay. I understand. Uh, so yeah, you guys could see a ceiling fan that Antoine did for us a couple weeks ago. This will be an object that you will be able to place into your player-owned apartment or house up on the ceiling in a designated slot. So there will be these like little holes cut out in the ceiling, and you can snap the ceiling fan or a different kind of light into that position anywhere there's a hole in the ceiling. So it's very nice. You can see the wood grain as well as some of the roughness variation on the metallic. Yeah, thank you, Vanager. No rain here. Hopefully it's all pretty clear weather for you up in Canada, Antoine.
Yes, it's a lot of sun. It's sunny,
Good, good,
very
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 good.
nice.
It's always a good day when it's shiny outside. So yeah, you can see here. This is a a coffee table, I suppose you could call it. Uh, very nice specular shine to it a little bit. It's more matte than it is shiny, but it is very good.
I will just show another coffee table, and then we will begin the texturing.
All right, perfect. Now, feel free to show some of your other work as well if you are really interested in doing that, even if it's not related to identity. Maybe you've worked on something for other projects in the past or at the same time that you're allowed to show anyway. uh,
Okay.
so, okay. So here's another. This is also a coffee table, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a bit of an illusion here. It looks like it's probably waist high, but it's actually kind of like knee high, or maybe up to your shins, or above your shins anyway.
Yes.
Um,
Exactly.
these are modern furniture, DK designer. A coffee table like this will be able to be placed as a decoration inside of your player apartment or house. You can place other objects on top of it too. Um, and you can see this is the uh, security anti-theft device that Antoine has just finished modeling. I actually assigned another one of these to him. It's a little more futuristic, modern looking that he'll be working on in the next few days. Um, but he's going to take this asset that he just got finished working on, 3D modeling. Maybe it could. Is it possible for you to show off the wireframe from
Yes.
this program?
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so people can get an idea of the edge flow with an asset like this. So you can see a lot of quads and triangles going on there. It's not too high polygon, perfect, great edge flow, nice rounded corners, very clean mesh. Yeah, very good, very good. Thank you for showing us that.
You're welcome.
So Antoine will begin texturing this now this program is called Substance Painter, by the way. So he's going to begin texturing with Substance Painter. Alternatively, some 3D artists will texture in Photoshop using the Quixel plugin, NDO and DDO. It does the exact same thing. This is a little more user friendly than that. Excuse me for the cough, by the way. There you go. Thank you to all of those that are just joining us. As you might have seen on Twitter or other social media, we will be texturing an asset today. Antoine will be texturing an asset today in Substance Painter. You can kind of see that he's selecting different areas of the mesh. I'm assuming these are different material IDs that you're, or does it just automatically select that difference? Like, I'm not sure.
Yes, it's like separated elements or
Okay.
UV islands.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So so he's referring to UV islands. That's where the different parts of the UV are separated from each other. And when he's just selecting the different pieces, it's really smart. So he's just kind of getting some base color down here at first, trying to block out how this will look. It's already looking like starting to come together too, that quickly. I'll have to try to mute my microphone every time I'm going to cough. So FreeBS, we do have some photo scanned materials in Identity, but not everything is. I think it's mostly like environment stuff, like rocks are photo scanned, boulders and rocks and mountain cliffs. But most of our assets are done the old-fashioned way. Well, new-fashioned way, I guess, because PBR, or Substance, is the new standard to texturing. Yes, so DK Designer, this metal detector will have a function. In fact, this specific metal detector you're going to see many times over in Identity, pretty much in every single store and business in Identity. You're going to see this exact same metal detector all over the place in the game. This is one of the few objects in the entire game that you're going to see a lot of if you are paying attention when you walk through a doorway. It's actually an anti-theft detector. I don't think it in real life detects metal. It kind of detects like the tags, like on stolen goods, so that people walking out of Walmart, for instance, uh, don't shoplift. That's correct. It's like an RFID scanner. Um, so yeah, you're going to see a lot of this object. Uh, so it's really exciting for me to have Antoine model it or texturing this today because uh, it's kind of like a piece of history in Identity's future. And we do have another one that Antoine will be modeling over the next couple of days. It's a little more futuristic looking, not too futuristic looking. It's still viable in today's world, but a little more modern, just so we can get some variation wherever it's necessary. Yeah, so this software is called Substance Painter. Let me give it a link for you. Like all 3D modeling related software, it is pretty expensive for a license. Usually, Substance Painter comes in a package with bitmap to material and Substance Designer as well. So let me. There you go. There's a link to the Substance Painter if you want to check that out. It's kind of getting some text in there. You can see how like quick and easy it is to manipulate things in this program. It instantly add depth to some text using like some normal adjustments. It looks like it's actually inlaid into the or even extruded out of the mesh. But it's an illusion. It's just a texture. It's not actual geometry. It's not generating geometry. It just creates the illusion that there's depth to it. And that's what's so great about, well, normals, but Substance Painter. Yeah, so while we can technically support or potentially support 1,000 players in a server, we don't necessarily want to support 1,000 people in a server because the map is only designed for so many people, and it can get overcrowded with too many people. You don't want to be looking for a nice quiet place to cook your meth from your mobile meth lab and find that there's already 50 other people in the same location. Or 100 different cops all chasing you at once. So, or 800 people waiting for a taxi. Yeah, that's another good point. So Antoine's just checking different fonts at the moment to kind of figure out which one feels right. The one thing, just in case I didn't tell you before, Antoine, please be sure not to do any real branding. It looks like you're you're going to be using just the word checkpoint, which is perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually looking for the right font.
All right, perfect. Yeah. There was actually a poll that we did on Twitter a while back ago. We asked people whether they would play as a criminal, a police officer, or a regular civilian, and the results were actually pretty satisfying for us. Let me see if I can find that real quick, because that is the kind of representative of exactly what we were hoping the ratio between criminals and police would actually be. So we're hopeful that it will remain that way. I'm just scrolling down here, our Twitter page, see if I can find this poll. Looks like it might be lost to time, actually. Not seeing it. Oh well. But ideally, we would expect that there would be fewer police officers than criminals, and the majority of players will probably be regular civilians. So fewer criminals than regular civilians, and fewer police than criminals. And there will be artificial limitations on the server when if there's too many cops currently logged in and on duty on a server, they of course will lock out the police force temporarily until a slot is open. So you can log into the world. When you log in each day, you will not be logged in as a police officer. You actually have to go to the police station. We might change that. But you'll have to go to the police station and sign in for duty again. And if there are too many cops online at the time, you will be a little out of luck until a slot opens up. Maybe we could even do a queue. Yes, we're still using Unreal Engine 4. Good game, Steve. We don't know which version we will end up on, but currently, at the moment, we are still updating with each stable branch. So we migrate all of our work to the next version every time another version comes out. At this moment, it takes a little while to do, but we want to make sure that we have all the available tools that we might need during the development of Identity. So busy Belgian, there is an application process to join the police force. On official servers, it is automated. On private servers, it is either automated or the server owner can choose to manually control the system. Let qualified ranked police officers recruit people. But on official servers anyway, you will have to go through a qualification thing, a little tutorial basically, in order to become a police officer. You might also require a certain amount of playtime, maybe 2 or 4 hours before you can sign as a police. Total accumulative hours, not like every game session. People have done some really incredible work with Unreal Engine 4. Like, I'm really excited for this engine's future. Some of the photorealistic stuff that that Dubs is referring to is just incredible. And most of it's visualization, architecture visualization. but that doesn't mean it can't be used in a game, for instance. Epic Viper, I don't have an exact number of vehicles, but there will be a large variety of vehicles. There will be plenty of vehicles in Identity's world because we really want the world to feel immersive. We want it to feel like there is some individuality between players. So there has to really be a variety of options for people to pick from, especially in a social environment like Identities. People in a social game like Identity really have to be able to express themselves individually. So it's really important to us that the clothing customization system, the character customization system, vehicle customization and whatnot, all offer a great deal of variety to every player. We really want to cover every base. Yesterday you saw Miroslav working on a trench coat. The whole reason for that trench coat even is so that those that are interested in role-playing in a gothic theme, we really want to cover all social groups. So those players that really want to role-play in that gothic theme can be able to really immerse themselves in that environment. And there is typically what we call sub-hubs for every social group too. A sub-hub is like a social gathering area on the map. And what we expect these to be used for are players that roleplay or belong to a specific theme for their character can go and meet each other. Say you are a bum, there will be a sub-hub perhaps under a bridge that you and all the other bums in Identity can go and meet each other and maybe organize your begging operation. Or if you are a biker, you really like to dress up as like a crazy cool hog riding biker, you could get your leather straps on and your leather cut, the jacket that all bikers wear. You could go to a biker bar and hang out together with other people that are interested in that same exact character theme in that location. Or even, it also separates along criminality and legality lines too. Criminals also will have their own specific sub-hub locations that they can go to that non-criminals can't go to. Where criminals can hang out and plan operations together, maybe get together and plan out a heist for a bank or the Federal Reserve or a prison escape, for instance. So it looks like I am missing a couple questions. Let me scroll up a little. Killer Laughs 3D, will there be rankings within the police? Yes. So there will be rankings on both official servers and private servers. They can be manually controlled on private servers. On official servers, it's more of an automated system. It's kind of like an experience gain thing on official servers where you just where your rank kind of represents how active you are on the police force. But on private servers, the ranking structure can have some real substance to it. You can give different permissions to different ranks, and have a fully functional police force with leadership and sergeants. And the ranks will go up to captain, of course. So captain being the highest rank, lieutenant below that, and whatnot. So Johnny Pixel, regarding furries, we have nothing against people that are interested in cosplay and furry costumes and stuff like that, but that sort of thing is a little too exotic for Identity. We don't want, for instance, everybody in the game to be running around in furry costumes in Identity because we feel that kind of thing it breaks immersion. So no furry costumes, unfortunately. But we definitely don't have anything against those people. We respect that interest. But there won't be any furry costumes in Identity. Nothing exotic that will break player immersion. It's got to feel like you're living in a real environment. Because we know that if we did that, everybody would be running around with furry suits all over the place, and we just don't want that. Tarek, we have 15 staff members at the moment. Most of those people, like Antoine, are freelance artists, but like Antoine, they've also been working with us pretty much since the beginning. So we don't just kind of jump back and forth between freelance artists. We find an artist that we really like and we stick with them throughout the entire development process. And we're really glad that we found Antoine because he's a very talented artist. And what's even better, maybe we could even convince you to work in the office later because you're up in Quebec there near the office.
Hey, thank you. Yes, why not?
We'll have to talk to John about that. Hopefully we can convince you. Otherwise, oh well. We can continue working remotely if that doesn't interest you. But there will be pets in Identity Polski Prawda. At first, the pets will only stay inside your apartment. They will only roam around your apartment at launch. After launch, we will see about letting them out of the house. We want to see canine units for police. We want to see hunting dogs, and we also just want to see pets following their owners outside of the house. Maybe you just want to take your pet for a walk, for instance, or have it follow you around as you run run all over the world. And yeah, that's that. That will come after launch. It will not be before launch. But before launch, you'll at least see pets running around your apartment. No exotic animals, though. I'm sorry. If it is something small like a snake or a turtle, it'll be confined to a cage or a tank. It won't be able to leave the cage or the tank. But if it is but I'm talking about no tigers. You're not going to be able to own a tiger in Identity, unfortunately, or a lion or a zebra. You'll only have the standard fare of animals. Maybe a bird, a snake, a cat, no possums or skunks. But you might still see some of those things out in the world too. A bear or a wolf, for instance, you'll potentially see out in the woods, and I do recommend staying away from them if you value your life. Can you run over the pets? Yeah, probably, admittedly. If the pet can leave the house, it can probably also be harmed too, unfortunately. But that's not to say that you're going to lose the pet forever if it does get harmed in that way. You just go back to your house and respawn it, whatever. We're not gonna cause anybody to have a meltdown. There will be a zoo in Identity, Kane. So yes. So while I'm mentioning those exotic animals as non-pets, you might not be able to have them as a pet, but there is a zoo in Identity that you'll be able to visit and potentially see some of those exotic animals sitting in the zoo. I'm really interested in seeing a gunfight occur over the zoo. I want to see like a battle over a zoo. That'd be really interesting. Yeah, we don't want to scar anybody for life with the pet thing. So you'll be able to retrieve your pet again if it gets run over in game or whatever. uh, Thank you, Good Game Steve. Good Game Steve said to you, Antoine, props to your asset creator. It's looking good.
Thank you.
So you won't be able to have illegal dogfights, unfortunately. Yeah, we'll have all sorts of different pets. A German Shepherd police dog, sure. There'd be other types of dogs that you could have for police vehicle. A golden retriever, perhaps. Um, Probably not a poodle for a police dog, because we are trying to keep things immersive. So there will be probably limitations on what kind of police dogs there are. Has anybody ever seen a poodle police dog? I wonder if that exists. Yeah, no Chihuahua police dogs, unfortunately. Um, yeah, so while I'm talking about the police dog, let me just reiterate that will all be considered after launch. We're not going to do that before the launch of the game. That's a little outside of our our scope at the moment, but we'll get into doing all the research required to get that to work after Identity launches. In the meantime, those pets will be confined to your house or apartment interior. Papa Apple Bay, yes, it's likely that you'll be able to own other types of fish or aquatic creatures inside of a fish tank. Probably nothing exotic like a giant squid or anything, but other aquatic species small enough to fit into a relatively small fish tank that can be placed in your living room or on a bookshelf or something. Dubs, it's very unlikely that we'll have face over IP stuff like in Star Citizen. That I was really impressed with that system. Maybe that's something that we can look into in the future, but we don't have any sort of licensing deal with the people that created that hardware, like the Star Citizen people have. They probably have a lot of money to make a deal like that, and we don't have that in our budget. Um, but we'll look into it. But I can't promise that we'll have any face over IP thing. And basically, what that is that's where you like a camera tracks the motion of your facial features, and it translates that into the game. It was really impressive in the Star Citizen Gamescom preview, but it probably will not make it into Identity. So Dr. Babymaker, the software being used currently is called Substance Painter. It is a texturing tool, a substance texturing tool, or PBR texturing tool for game assets. It's a lot like Photoshop in a way, but a little more control over a specific 3D function. Thank you, Akea Real. Thank you very much for your support. Appreciate that. I know I've missed several questions. Let me see if I can scroll up and catch something that I've missed here. Good game, Steve. Narcotics will give your character a debuff. Well, actually, a buff. But if you overuse the narcotics, they will debuff you. You could become addicted and be forced to go to a hospital to treat your addiction and identity if you take too many narcotics. So it's a bit of a trade-off. You can gain some temporary positive effects from taking some of the narcotics, only temporarily, and we're definitely not advocating the use of illegal narcotics. The system is more or less designed to kind of teach people of the risks involved in taking some of the narcotics. Some worse than others, obviously. The governor can, of course, legalize marijuana in identity. So that might be a platform that some governors run on when running for governor. Is they will promise to legalize marijuana, for instance. So if that happens, you can freely consume marijuana in identity. There will be a unique animation for that. But otherwise, you might get arrested for using it if it's not illegal, if it's not legalized. Yeah, so VoIP in Identity actually runs through a backend TeamSpeak client. It all runs through through TeamSpeak, a TeamSpeak server that the players are not able to see. You're not connecting to any channels manually. You're not downloading any client outside of the game. You're downloading the internal files that are attached to the game, and when you sign into Identity, you are automatically placed into a TeamSpeak server, and will simply be running in the background of your client. You won't even know it's there, honestly. So phishing is pretty cool in Identity. Thank you, Glacius TS, for the question. So you can fish right off the side of a dock or off the side of a beach into the water surrounding Identity, or Identity's world anyway. But you can also get a fishing boat of various sizes and go out into the water and fish from your fishing boat. It'll automatically collect into the fishing boat's inventory. You take that back to shore, you sell it at the marketplace for selling fish, and you get some profit. It's pretty simple. You can dive underwater. There will probably be physical fish swimming around underwater. We haven't really decided yet how that mechanic is going to be fleshed out. But there will be fish underwater that you'll be able to see and probably catch manually, as well as automatically from the fishing boat. So if you just want to swim up to a fish while diving and grab it, you could do that. But what's really cool about the swimming mechanic is that you'll also be able to dive for wreckage, like treasure, underwater treasure from shipwrecks. Not player shipwrecks; these are pre-placed shipwrecks in the environment underwater. And you'll be able to explore those shipwrecks and collect treasure, some more rare than others. And if you, in specific cases, you might actually find a very rare piece of treasure that you could bring to the museum, get some money from the museum, and have that item displayed to the entire server in the museum in Identity. So it'll be a really cool system. I appreciate your interest, Lion King Gamer, in donating to the stream. But because we don't do this often enough, we don't want to offer a way to donate yet, because really we'd prefer it if you spent your money on packages and identity pledge rewards and items from the shop rather than donating. Boring Sam, prison and identity is pretty cool too. Um, it's kind of like playing a game within a game. When you get sent to prison, depending on how long you're there for, you can request a trial. Um, if your trial request gets approved, you'll be sent to the courtroom. All of the jurors of your peers, other players, will be randomly selected from the world. They'll be given a certain amount of time to reach the courthouse and become juror members. They get paid for becoming juror members, for being there. And you can choose to plead your case or have an attorney, a player attorney, plead your case on your behalf. Perhaps you don't have a microphone. Perhaps you're not very confident in speaking. You could have somebody else represent you in court and plead your case. The judge is an AI. It's an NPC judge, but the jurors are players. There'll be probably 6 to 12 jurors, depending on how many respond. And they will decide your fate after you are given a certain amount of time to plead your case. If what happens if they're in the middle of something? Then you simply won't get paid. Yeah, that's one less juror for the courtroom, I guess. That's how we handle it in Altus Life. And I think that's how it is in our design document, too. But anyway, if you don't go to court and you're still in prison, you will just serve out your time. You could choose to leave prison whenever you want to after your time is served. There will be an exit for you to leave from. But you can choose to stay there and just hang out in the prison. There's a common area for people to just hang out, chit chat, or get involved in some activities that are inside the prison. Or you could choose to join a prison gang. You're not confined to one cell in prison. You are running around the entire prison interior within the confinement area. So as a prisoner, you could join a prison gang, find a shank or craft a shank perhaps, and attack other gang members, opposite rival prison gang members anyway, and capture territory inside the prison yard. There is a bit of a point system that I won't get into quite yet. We're still trying to flesh out how this is going to work. But originally, how this was planned is that there are 3 different prison gangs that you can join. There's 3 different prison factions. All your friends can join the same one if you want to. There's not player-created prison gangs, but rather 3 pre-made factions that you can join. And those factions accumulate points with each person that does tasks for them. So once each of these prison gangs accumulate enough points, they can actually initiate a prison break together. So whoever is in the prison at that time when the faction has finished accumulating points, you can all attempt a prison break, and the police that are qualified to do so will be able to respond to the prison break, and you'll have to have a battle with the police. There are safe areas within the prison. So if you don't want to be involved in the combat within the prison yard, there are areas that you can go where you are safe from that. Good game, Steve. When you leave a specific area, your client is not rendering those parts that you left from. If you leave, like, say the town square and you go out into the wilderness, your client is no longer rendering the parts of the town square. Like that, anything out of sight that your client isn't able to see isn't being rendered at all to your client. It's all very optimized in that way. Yeah, there will be different European servers as well as American. We'll probably even do an Australian server for those down under. So this checkpoint that Antoine is working on right now, this is an item that is placed in the doorway. Usually there's two of these, so this is just one half of the checkpoint, and this is placed in the doorway of businesses. You're going to see this exact same checkpoint everywhere throughout the game. This is kind of like a moment in Identity's history in a way, because you're seeing the creation process for an asset that you're most definitely going to recognize when playing Identity. You're going to see this everywhere. This very same security system that Antoine's working on now. And this is going to be placed in the doorway of every store. And what this will do, basically, is if, in most cases, if you are carrying firearms when you pass by these checkpoints, they will temporarily disable your firearm, your weapons, so you won't be able to pull out a gun in certain locations, certain sub-hubs, safe zones, and which are like interiors of buildings. They're not out in the world. There's no safe zones out in the world, but there are safe zones in specific interior locations. So when you pass by this will temporarily disable your weapon usage until you leave the building. And in some cases, when you're inside of a store, you can attempt to shoplift items of low value. Depending on how valuable that item is, you'll be able, like a t-shirt perhaps, you'll be able to take that and leave the store without paying, unless and there will be a chance of escaping unless the detector goes off. If the detector goes off, you're in some hot water there as the police come to get you. So Dead Nerd, how do we plan to take care of trolls? So with trolls and Identity, we have a stress system that helps mitigate some of the trolling in the game. So the stress system on official servers, this can be disabled on private servers, by the way. This isn't required by servers. But on official servers, depending on where you're at and what kind of action you're involved in, your character has a stress meter, whether they're highly stressed or very little stressed. And if your character, the more stressed your character is, the more vulnerable to damage you are on official servers. So if you're pointing a weapon at somebody or even having a weapon pointed at you, your stress meter is filling up. Like if you're pointing a weapon, it fills up very quickly. If you have a weapon pointing at you, it fills up slowly over time. If you're driving erratically with your vehicle, your stress meter increases a great deal. If you're driving safely, it stays low. If you're in a safer area, like a city, a populated place on the map, your stress will be kept low. Uh, if you are in an illegal area, there are illegal areas in the map, the places where no regular civilian should go, or cops even. Uh, your stress meter is fully elevated, so you're more vulnerable to damage based on how stressed your character is. And this is a system, like I said, this can be disabled on private servers. It's not a perfect solution to everything, but it will help mitigate the trolling on official servers anyway. Uh, Kilby, if you are aiming at somebody from a distance, uh, it will not increase the stress meter of that person that you're aiming at because you're so far away. It's also factored in by like how close you are to your target too. So they if you're at a distance and you're aiming at somebody, they don't have a clue that you're aiming at them, and they won't be gaining any stress. With a high stress meter, you are. With your stress very low, you are still vulnerable to damage. It just will be easier to kill you when you have high stress. You can still be killed with low stress, but it'll just be easier to kill you with high stress. You're not safe unless you're inside of a sub-hub safe zone interior. In which case you can't even use weapons in sub-hubs. BL Toaster, welcome, buddy. What you see being done here right now is a security system, an anti-theft sensor, basically. You know the sensors that you walk through? There's one on each side inside a Walmart to kind of prevent you from shoplifting. That's what this is. Dr. Babymaker, no, there's not really like anything to help anybody get used to being stressed out all the time. And if you're a criminal, you're pretty much always in a state of high stress, I guess, depending on what you're doing. Dead Nerd, what happens on death? So when you die in Identity, you will have time you'll be given some time of someone to come to revive you. You kind of have like a life alert system to notify paramedics that you're dead, so they can be alerted to your location. Or another player, if they have the right equipment, can revive you on the spot. Like a friend that is with you. Or you can choose to spawn back at your last bind location, or a city even. Usually your bind location is your house, or a city if you chose to bind there when you arrived. But yeah, you just you either get revived, or you just choose a location to spawn at. Perhaps maybe a little unrealistic, but if you burn to death, you can still be revived. Yeah. It's while we do go for a bit of realism in Identity, we also have to keep in mind that it is a video game, so we can't So we don't want to like give preferential treatment to specific kinds of deaths or whatever. You know, we want people to be able to have opportunity in this game. Always got to remember that it is a video game above everything else. So, like, you know, you kind of see some of the criticism online about identity. Sometimes you see people say things like, "Why would I want to play real life? You know, I already do that." Well, it's not. It's a video game. Keep that in mind. It's not. This isn't real life. There's video game mechanics. You can do things in identity that you can't do in real life. You know, you can't go rob a bank in real life without consequences, but you can go into identity and rob a bank and have some fun with it, right? It's not a training simulator for robbing a bank. It just allows you to do those things. When you die, you do drop anything in your inventory that you are carrying other than clothing. You will not lose your clothing when you die in identity. You'll always have that on you. That is part of what makes you you. We really want to preserve your identity, give players the option to really express themselves in identity. So we're not going to take anything that really separates your individuality from other players. We really want you to express yourself. So you're not going to lose your clothing. But if you do die, you will lose inventory items that are on your body when you die. Of course, you will not lose it while you're in a downed state. You actually have to be dead, like respawned back at your bind location. To lose that stuff. If a paramedic is able to get to you in time, that stuff stays in your inventory until you're dead. So you will lose things like weapons or maybe food that you're carrying in your inventory. So you really one thing we kind of really want to emphasize is that weapons in identity, we want to be fairly rare when outside of criminal activities. So in order to do that, we also want to give players the freedom to kind of choose how they play the game themselves. So in order to kind of ensure that weapons are rare, we make it so that players can lose them when they die. You know, some weapons have durability. Well, actually, all weapons have durability. But so you overuse a specific type of weapon, they will become damaged over time, be in a state of disrepair, and no longer be able to be used. You can lose them from dying, and you can have them taken away from you by cops when you get arrested. And the bigger the weapon is, if it's an assault rifle, it is more expensive. So weapons aren't something that can be crafted by other players like other things, like furniture. Weapons have to be obtained through various means. We're still working that out. It'll probably be a AI shop that'll sell you the weapons, but they're going to be pretty expensive. And so you're really going to want to save your AK-47 or your M416, M4A1 rather, for the big jobs, the Federal Reserve robbery or the bank robbery. You're not going to be wanting to run around with an AK-47 on your back normally, because first it'll show up on your back. Like your character will have that strapped around his shoulder. Other people can see that, and if somebody's hungry enough, they will murder you and take your weapon from you. Or a cop will see it, they'll arrest you, and you'll lose it. So you're really going to want to preserve the rare weapons for specific occasions. Glacius TS, will there be predators in the water that pose a threat to divers? Yes, there will be sharks. specifically. There will be sharks swimming around the water. You do want to be careful. They're not going to be like swarming the water. There are places that are more heavily populated by sharks. But remember, risk versus reward. The more risk you take, the higher the reward. So you go diving in a shark-infested area of the water, there might be something really valuable down there for you to find. Killer Laughs 3D, the economy will be realistic in Identity. You could kind of imagine what you could purchase with $10,000 in real life. You could probably do the same thing in Identity. You could probably buy a car, for instance. Some cars, depending on what kind of car it is, you could probably purchase for $10,000 in Identity, just like you could in real life. There are no prostitutes in Identity. Captain Manolo, there are taxes in Identity for various things. There's income tax. There is housing tax. If you own a house from a pledge reward, it is tax free. The one thing we're very insistent on is that players will not lose something that they buy with real money. If you buy a house from a pledge, you're not going to lose that house or apartment rather. Sorry, you can only get apartments from pledges. But if you have a pledge apartment, it's impossible for you to lose that apartment. All right. Well, yeah. So Belga has kind of wrapped up the stream here. You can see him in chat, Belga22. That is Antoine, and it looks like he is done for this session. There might be some little cleanup. I don't know. I think it might be finished. Actually, it looks pretty good. So if it's finished, it's good to go. We can get that from him and toss it in the engine and have it ready for the game. That's the texturing process for a 3D asset in Identity. For a prop specifically, it does have an object like this does have some additional functionality. Obviously, it'll beep a bit. It has some detection ability for shoplifting or weapons. So we'll put this into the engine from this point. The programmers will take it and add that other functionality either with Blueprint or C++ programming. Depending on, some things classify for whatever. But it looks like we're done. We really appreciate you guys coming out to the stream today. Today was just a 1-hour stream. Not like yesterday's stream where we did 2.5 hours. Really appreciate all your guys' questions. I'm glad that I was able to answer a lot of them. I apologize if I missed some of your questions. I know I did. But that is it. We'll be streaming again tomorrow with we'll be streaming again tomorrow with another artist. It will be what's his name? Alexander Pavlenko, I apologize. Alexander Pavlenko, our concept artist, is streaming tomorrow. I don't have an exact time for that yet, but I'll be posting it on Twitter. But we really appreciate you guys coming out today. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a really great community. You guys are great. So supportive. Thank you. And Antoine, are you there? Would you like to
Yes.
conclude things?
Thank you very much to everyone. Hope you liked it. And maybe we will do another texturing work like this another time, another week.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Antoine, for doing this for us. We really appreciate it. people were finally able to kind of get an inside look of how things are done for 3D assets. And we're really proud that we were able to provide that for the community. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a good day.
See ya.